Michael Picker, Mitchell's brother-in-law, along with Jeffrey and Greg, nephews, will share some thoughts.
It was suggested that individuals speak for approximately 4 minutes each today. After my wife spoke so beautifully earlier, I think the remaining Picker speakers have about 20 seconds each. So we will do our best. You may or may not know that I am involved in the world of sports. As such, I see this unspeakable, unexplainable tragedy through the eyes of a team. Mitch, I never referred to him as Mitchell, Leslie, Hannah, and Ari were a team. Most of the time pulling in the same direction, but sometimes not. Whether it was education, the Jewish religion, outdoor life, Bella, medicine, community, and so many other areas, they did it as Team Weiss. Not sure they were all together on things like Mitch's sense of humor and Hannah's cuisine choices, but no team works in concert all the time. All great teams need support organizations to succeed. What I've witnessed since the New Year's Eve life-changing moment is and continues to be an unbelievable support system. Not in any particular order, I have seen support and love from the following: Team Family, Team Friends, Team Doctors, Team Shorecrest, Team Synagogues, Team USY, Team List College, Team Camp Ramah, and many more. Great teams are ones that work cohesively the most. Great teams have wonderful support systems so when something goes awry, there's some others to step in and fill the gaps. Great teams have a can-do attitude, and not someone else will do. The Weiss family members all had the can-do approach and are a great team and will continue to live on through their support groups. In their memory, let's support each other, especially Mitch and Leslie's parents, through this incomprehensible event.
As some of you may know, 2 years ago, I moved to Florida from New York. While the weather, a promising new job, lower taxes, and never having to worry about shoveling again were great benefits, the perk I was most excited about was being closer to Grandma Bibby, Uncle Mitchell, Aunt Leslie, Hannah, and Ari. Aunt Leslie and my mom would often joke about how they traded children when I moved down here and Hannah started college at Columbia. A few days after we learned of the horrific news, an old friend reached out to me to offer his condolences and see how I was doing. During our conversation, he brought up a poem, and after reading it, I knew I had to share it with all of you today. The Dash Poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted the first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they had spent alive on the earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we love and live and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time left for things to still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while.
One of my earliest memories came on August 13th, 1995, when I was just a few years old. It was the wedding of my Uncle Mitchell and Aunt Leslie, and I recall Uncle Mitch stepping on the glass, a Jewish wedding tradition. It was the start of over 22 years of wonderful memories I shared with the family that became a magical group of four. When Uncle Mitch, Aunt Leslie, and Hannah still lived in Philadelphia, my family would make the drive down from Long Island 3 or 4 times every year. There was only one way each of these trips could start, and that was with Uncle Mitch making sure there were cheesesteaks ready to go on the kitchen table when we showed up. Uncle Mitch's ability to tell a story was unmatched. Everybody in the room would be in stitches as he recounted any event he would share. It only made sense that he was married to Aunt Leslie, as she loved to laugh more than probably anybody else I know. Her distinct laugh was one of a kind, and it wouldn't take long in any conversation to hear it belt out. Despite living 1,200 miles from each other for the past 17 years, Aunt Leslie could still be considered my primary care physician. Oftentimes, if I had something go wrong, I would reach out to her before even my own mother. When I broke my wrist in college, I was surprised not to feel so much pain, but more of a tingling sensation radiating up my arm. Because I'm a warrior, my mind went to the worst, that it was more than just a broken bone. Not even 10 minutes after the incident, my one thought was I needed to call Aunt Leslie. Not surprisingly, she was able to calm my nerves and tell me there was nothing to fear. Surely enough, 6 weeks later, I was as good as new. Fewer than 6 weeks later, though, was Hannah's bat mitzvah, so I had to place myself properly in every photo to make sure my cast wasn't visible, right here on this bima. Even in my job, Aunt Leslie was able to find a way to help. Live on radio, when I learned of a certain medical condition I had never heard of before, I needed to make sure I didn't sound like a fool and mispronounce it. I texted Aunt Leslie, and not even 30 seconds later, I heard back from her with it spelled out phonetically and what it rhymed with to make sure I had it right. Cousin Hannah was one of a kind. Her commitment to making the world a better place is something that everyone strives to do, but she had actually done just that. She accomplished more in her 19 years than most people could do in 100 years. Not sure I ever spent a period of more than 2 minutes with Hannah without seeing a smile on her face. Of course, that may have also had to do with the fact that Uncle Mitch was usually there, and I don't think anybody could go more than 2 minutes without smiling and laughing if he was talking. Best recent example of this was at the end of this past summer when Hannah moved back for her sophomore year at Columbia. Uncle Mitch and Hannah realized that this was the perfect opportunity for all the cousins that are now living in New York, Weiss side and Levin side, to come together for a wonderful evening. Stories and laughters, filled dinner shared in Midtown Manhattan, which easily could have continued for more than just the 3 hours that we shared together. In October 2004, Ari was just 3 years old, but he had a bigger impact than maybe anyone else on my bar mitzvah night. At that age, I tended to lose my composure and laugh in nervous moments, but I had made it through my Torah portion with no problems. On to my English speech. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Ari had gotten loose from my brother's grip, who had been keeping an eye on him. All of a sudden, Ari runs from the corner of the sanctuary right into the first row, creating this resounding boom that could be heard all throughout the sanctuary. That set me off, and along with the entire congregation, I spent at least 5 minutes laughing. Felt like an eternity, but that's what Ari caused. Uncle Mitch, Aunt Leslie, Hannah, and Ari all made me laugh, and when I think back on the special times we spent together, they will continue to do so, and I will hear their contagious laughs forever. Although our connection is to Uncle Mitch, Aunt Leslie, Hannah, and Ari, who must remember the Steinberg family, Bruce, Irene, Zachary, William, Matthew, and of course the tour guide, Amanda Geisler. All of our lives were changed forever on New Year's Eve, a day that is typically about celebration, and unfortunately was the farthest thing from that 1 week ago. There will never be another day in which we don't think about Uncle Mitch, Aunt Leslie, Hannah, and Ari. Going forward, I know it will not be easy to ever think of December 31st the same way. However, I ask that you continue to celebrate, but make sure to also celebrate the memories and wonderful joy Uncle Mitch, Aunt Leslie, Hannah, and Ari brought to the world.